You're listening to Mia Horror Stories, and today's story is The Subway Station Was Empty, but I heard footsteps behind me. The screen will stay completely black, letting your imagination do all the work. No visuals, no noise, just a story that creeps under your skin. Don't skip a second, because every detail builds to the chilling end you won't want to miss. The first thing I noticed was the clock. Not the time, just that it was wrong in a very specific way. Above the platform, mounted to a steel beam, the digital display said 00, 00 in harsh red numbers like a microwave that had lost power. Under it, the little service screen that usually scrolled delays and station notices was blank, a dull gray glow with no text. It wasn't dramatic. It was just lazy wrong. The kind of wrong you could explain away with a maintenance reboot or a busted feed. Still, it made my steps slow, because I knew this station. I'd stared at those screens through enough late nights to know what normal looked like, even at the edges. Normal was a low hum of fluorescent lights, the salt and pennies smell of old concrete, and at least one person in the distance, someone you could pretend not to see while you kept half an eye on them anyway. This was not that. The mezzanine was empty, the turnstiles blinking green for no one. A single MetroCard vending machine hummed like it had a sore throat. Somewhere above, a fan motor clicked in a tired rhythm, then caught, then clicked again. I heard my own breathing too clearly, the way you do when you realize you're alone and you didn't plan to be. A sound echoed from deeper in the station, a soft scuff like rubber on grit, footsteps, not close, not rushing, just present, making time. I stopped near the column with the black and white tile sign, my fingers tightening around the strap of my tote. The steps stopped too. That's what got me. Not the steps people walk. It was the timing. Like whoever it was had stopped because I had, and the air between us had stretched to measure that decision. I turned my head without turning my body. That old habit. Don't advertise you're spooked. Don't square up. Don't look like prey. At the top of the stairs, where the street-level door should have been, there was nothing but dimness and the faint glint of the metal handrail. No silhouette. No face. No late commuter juggling a bag and a phone. Just the empty rectangle of stairwell and the drifting smell of damp wool and something fried, old oil from the takeout place upstairs that always clung to the station, even after midnight. Hello. My voice came out thinner than I wanted. No answer. The clicky fan overhead continued its uneven cycle. I made myself move again. One step, then another, down toward the platform. My boots made a sound that was too loud on the stairs, the kind of sound that says, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Halfway down, I glanced up at the street-level door, expecting it to swing open and deliver a perfectly normal person with a perfectly normal reason for being behind me. It didn't. The platform was lit, but not warmly. The fluorescent tubes flickered at the far end, a stutter of light that turned the tiled wall into a sequence of quick photos. The tracks below were black, as if the tunnel had swallowed all reflection. I pulled my phone out, thumbed the screen awake. 1:17 a.m. LTE had 2 bars. My group chat with my brother was still open from earlier, a string of his memes and my eye roll replies. I clicked over to the transit app, a spinning wheel, loading service status over and over. Of course, I muttered, like it had personally betrayed me. My name is Evan Mercer, and I'm the kind of person who likes explanations in advance. I'm 32, a civil engineer by training, which mostly means I'm professionally irritated by surprises. I'd stayed late at the office in Lower Manhattan because my boss had asked for a revised drainage plan first thing. And I told myself I'd handle it because I always handle things, right up until I don't. The private truth, the one I don't say out loud, is that I hate not knowing what's behind me. It's not a dramatic fear. No childhood ghost story. It's a flaw, really, the way my attention hooks on anything that could become a problem and doesn't let go. It's exhausting. It's also the reason I still have a job. A gust of air came up the tunnel, cool and metallic, carrying the faintest oily tang. For a second, I thought I heard something again, footsteps on the stairs, maybe, then realized it was just the flutter of a paper cup rolling along the platform. I exhaled slowly. At the far end near the bench, someone sat with a hood up, shoulders rounded, motionless. Relief and annoyance hit me at the same time. There you are. Normal someone. I walked a little faster, not toward them exactly, but toward the middle of the platform, where the camera domes were more obvious, and the emergency call box was mounted to a column. A yellow strip warned stand behind the yellow line in letters that had been scuffed by millions of shoes. The seated person shifted, and I caught the edge of a face in the light pale, tired, probably younger than me. They looked down again, thumbs moving, a phone glow. Okay. Then the sound came back. Footsteps behind me again at the top of the stairs I just descended. Slow, measured, not heavy, not light enough to be a kid. Something in the middle, like someone trying not to draw attention, but not trying hard. I didn't stop this time. I kept walking, forcing my shoulders to stay loose, forcing my gaze forward. But every part of me wanted to turn. Hey, I said, louder than necessary, aimed toward the hooded person. You know if the trains are running. Hooded person looked up, blinked once like they'd been pulled out of a different room. Then they stood, as if that question was permission. Maya Lindstrom, 27, female. She had a Scandinavian lilt to her vowels, subtle enough you might miss it if you weren't listening. Her hair was tucked into the hood, but a pale strand had escaped and clung to her cheek. She wore a thin puffer jacket and jeans with a dark smudge on one knee like she'd brushed against something wet. Running, she repeated, glancing up at the dead screens. I thought maybe delayed. The app won't load. Same, I said, holding up my phone like evidence. You came in from upstairs just now, she frowned slightly. No, I've been here maybe 15 minutes. I walked down when the booth was closed. It's always closed, right? Usually, I said. The booth being closed was normal. The screens being blank, less so. The footsteps stopped again. Not at the turnstiles. Not on the stairs. Somewhere in between, as if the person behind us had paused in the corridor to listen. Maya's eyes flicked past my shoulder, quick and involuntary. You hear that too, I said, because there was no point pretending. Her lips parted as if she wanted to deny it. Then she shrugged one shoulder. Maybe cleaning staff, or someone jogging. She didn't sound like she believed either option. Her fingers tightened around her phone. I noticed she didn't have headphones in. Neither did I. That felt like a small, accidental alliance. I tried to force my mind into practical tracks. Empty station at 1:17 a.m. could happen. Service disruptions, police activity, maintenance. Somebody behind us could be anyone. Another commuter, a homeless guy moving around, a worker. I could list possibilities all night. That's my problem. Where are you headed? I asked, like a normal person starting a normal conversation, because we were both stuck in the same small inconvenience. "Queens," Maya said. "I'm visiting a friend. I work late at the restaurant." She glanced at my tote. "You, Brooklyn," I said. "Office ran long." She nodded, then her gaze sharpened as she looked at something past me again. This time she didn't hide it. "There," she whispered. I followed her eyes toward the stairwell. A figure stood at the top landing, just inside the station lights. Not close enough for details, but close enough for shape. Average height, dark jacket, hands not visible. The figure didn't come down, didn't go back up, just stood there, as if deciding whether to commit to being seen. The normal explanation stayed available. Someone checking if the platform was safe. Someone waiting for a friend. Someone who had paused to read a sign. But the shape wasn't looking at signs. It was facing us. My phone buzzed, an email notification from my boss, so ordinary it almost made me laugh. I silenced it immediately, the sound suddenly too bright for the room. Maya's voice was quiet when she spoke again. "There's another exit, right? The one at the other end." "Yeah," I said. "It connects to the next street, but it's a longer walk." I heard myself adding details like that mattered, like we were debating whether. Maya swallowed. "Or we could wait near the call box, see if a train comes." The figure didn't move. The dead clock still read 0000. And behind all of it, deeper in the tunnel, there was a faint, distant vibration that might have been a train, or might have been nothing at all. Maya and I stood side by side without really choosing to. Two strangers in a public place that suddenly felt private. And we looked from the call box to the far exit to the unmoving figure above the stairs. The choice wasn't dramatic. It was worse than that. It was ordinary enough to be wrong if we picked poorly. The figure at the top of the stairs shifted its weight. Not much, just enough to tell us it was a person and not a trick of light. The shoes, dark, maybe sneakers, scraped once against the concrete. A sound you could hear anywhere in the city, any hour, and not think twice about. Here it landed differently. Maya leaned closer to me without touching. "If that's cleaning staff," she said, "don't they usually have carts?" "Usually," I said. I kept my eyes on the figure, then glanced at the tunnel again, as if a train might appear out of embarrassment. And reflective vests. The figure didn't wear one. The jacket absorbed light. Hands still out of view. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my brother calling. I silenced it without answering. The vibration felt like a shout. "Okay," I said quietly. "Time problem first. If trains aren't coming, we shouldn't stand around guessing." Maya nodded. "The call box." "Yeah." Moved together, slow and deliberate, toward the yellow call box bolted to the column. I noticed the dome camera above it, a little cloudy with dust, its black eye aimed down the platform. The fluorescent lights flickered harder here, stuttering twice before settling. The hum in my ears grew louder, or maybe I was just listening harder. I pressed the call button. Nothing. No chime. No crackle of a voice asking for my emergency. Just the same dead air as the screens above. "Try again," Maya said. I did. I held it down longer. Still nothing. A thin line of sweat crept down my spine, cold against the cotton of my shirt. This wasn't panic. Not yet. This was the part of my brain that liked diagrams and redundancies, noticing a missing layer. "Power issue," Maya said. "But the lights, emergency systems, are usually on separate circuits," I said automatically. I hated that my voice sounded like I was explaining something to class. "But they still rely on upstream connectivity. If the backhall's down, the footsteps came again. On the stairs this time, one step down, then another, not rushing, not hiding. We both turned. The figure descended into better light. A man, maybe late 30s or 40s, average build, black jacket zipped up, hood down. His hair was cropped close, the kind of cut you could do yourself with clippers. His face was unremarkable in the way that made it hard to remember later. No beard, no glasses, nothing to grab onto. His hands were empty. "Hey," he called, voice carrying easily across the platform. "You guys waiting for a train?" Maya answered before I could stop her. "Yeah, are they running?" He shrugged, a casual roll of the shoulders. "Haven't seen one in a while. I thought maybe they shut it down." "For what?" I asked. "No idea," he said. He reached the bottom of the stairs and stopped there, leaving a wide, careful distance between us. "You hear anything?" "No," Maya said. Her fingers were white around her phone. "Do you work here?" I held a little. It didn't reach his eyes. No, there it was, not a threat, not yet, just a mismatch. A person-shaped gap where an explanation should be. Behind us, something metallic clanged softly from the tunnel like a tool dropped and caught by a string. The vibration followed, faint but steady, closer now. Train. It had to be. Maya's shoulders sagged with relief. "That's a train," she said. I wasn't so sure. The sound was too even, too patient. The man glanced toward the tunnel, then back to us. "If one's coming," he said, "you'll want to stand back." We were already behind the line. "Thanks," I said. He nodded, then took a step closer, just one. I felt my attention hook hard, the way it always did. I cataloged the distance, the exits, the call box that didn't work. I hated that I couldn't see a clear solution, that I couldn't preempt this. "Actually," I said, "we're thinking of using the other exit, the one down there." I gestured vaguely toward the far end of the platform. The man's gaze flicked that way. "A beat too long." "Long walk," he said. "Street's quiet over there." "So is here," Maya said. He smiled again, tighter this time. "Suit yourselves." The vibration in the tunnel grew louder. The air shifted, a breeze pushing out toward us. My ears popped slightly. That was more like it. Then the lights dimmed, not out. Just a noticeable drop, like someone had slid a dimmer switch halfway down. The flicker intensified, casting the platform in a strobe that made it hard to judge movement. "Power drop," I said, my heart finally speeding up. Could be load shedding. The man took another step forward. The strobe turned his movement into a series of jumps. "Hey," he said. "You okay?" Maya backed into me. I felt the small, unintentional press of her shoulder blades against my chest. She smelled like citrus and fryer oil. Normal human details that made the situation feel more real, not less. "Stay where you are," I said to him. It came out sharper than I meant. He stopped, lifted his hands slightly, palms out. "Relax, just checking." The vibration cut out. The light snapped off. For a second, there was nothing, no flicker, no hum, just a blackness so complete it felt physical. Then emergency lighting kicked in, dim amber strips along the platform edge and stair rails. Enough to see shapes. Not enough for comfort. My phone lit up as it lost signal entirely. No service replaced the bars. Maya gasped. "Evan, I know," I said. I swallowed. "Okay, new problem." The emergency lights revealed something else. The far end of the platform was partially blocked. A maintenance gate had slid halfway closed, its chain dangling loose, swaying slightly from the sudden change in air pressure. The man was closer now. Not by much, but closer. "Looks like we're all stuck," he said. The call box remained dead. The camera dome didn't move. I made a decision I'd been avoiding. "We're going to the other exit," I said to Maya, louder so he could hear. "Now," she nodded immediately. We started walking, faster now, toward the far end. The amber lights cast long shadows that stretched and snapped as we moved. Behind us, footsteps followed, matching our pace. "Hey," the man called. "No need to panic." I didn't answer. I focused on the gate, on the chain, on the fact that the exit beyond it was technically public space, but currently obstructed. As we reached the gate, I saw the problem. The chain had been looped through itself and clipped, not locked, but tangled tight. Someone would have to stand still and work it free. "I can do it," I said, already reaching. Maya shook her head. "No, he's right there." Footsteps behind us accelerated, not running. "Closing." "Evan," she whispered. "Choose." Behind us, the man cleared his throat, close enough now that I could hear the wet click of his tongue. "Don't make this weird," he said. The amber lights flickered again, and from somewhere above, far beyond the closed street door, a siren wailed briefly and cut off. I had to decide who would stand still. I dropped to a knee at the gate and grabbed the chain. The links were greasy, colder than I expected, leaving a dark smear on my palm. Whoever had looped it hadn't used a lock, just fed the loose end back through and clipped it to itself, creating a tight knot of metal that resisted anything but patience. I tugged once, harder than I should have. The chain didn't move. Behind us, the man took another step. "Don't," Maya said. Her voice was low but urgent. She stood half-turned, eyes locked on him, body angled to block if she had to. It wasn't brave in a cinematic way. It was practical, the way you stand when you know running isn't an option yet. "I need 10 seconds, I said. I didn't know if that was true. The amber lights buzzed overhead, casting the maintenance gate's shadow across the platform like prison bars. Beyond the gate, I could see the corridor to the alternate exit, narrower than I remembered, sloping upward, tiled walls stained with rust halos around old bolts. A long walk, like the man had said. Quiet. "Hey," the man said again, closer now. "You're going to hurt yourself doing that." I ignored him and focused on the chain. If I could rotate the clip, feed slack back through, it would loosen. My hands shook enough that I had to clamp my teeth together to stop them chattering. Footsteps accelerated behind us. Maya took a step back, misjudged the edge, and her heel slipped on something slick. She windmilled, caught herself on the gate with a sharp metallic rattle. The sound echoed down the platform, multiplied by the bare walls. For half a second, it sounded like someone else running. The man froze. So did I. From the darkness near the stairs came a burst of movement, fast, low, scraping. My stomach dropped. This was it. Another person. Someone circling. Then a shape shot through the amber light and disappeared into the tunnel with a furious clatter. A rat, big, but still just a rat. Maya let out a breath that was half a laugh, half a sob. "Jesus." "Yeah," I said. My heart kept racing anyway, refusing to accept the correction. The man exhaled too. I noticed then that he'd taken advantage of the moment, closing the distance by another step. Close enough now that I could smell him. Stale coffee, sweat, something chemical like cleaning fluid or solvent. "I don't want trouble," he said. "We can all go together." "No," Maya said immediately. "Why not?" His tone was reasonable, almost wounded. "I don't bite." My hands slipped on the chain. I swore under my breath. The clip rotated a fraction. Progress. "We're fine," I said without looking at him. "Please back up." He didn't. Instead, he crouched slightly, as if to get a better look at what I was doing. His eyes flicked from my hands to Maya's face, assessing. "You're making it worse," he said. "You pull like that, you'll jam it." That hit me harder than it should have, because he was right. Because I knew he was right. "Evan," Maya said, sharper now. "Leave it." "I almost have it," I said. Was the flaw talking? The need to finish, to fix, to not abandon a problem half solved. The chain bit into my skin as I tried a different angle. The clip finally loosened enough to slide. The gate shuddered, opening maybe 6 inches more. "Okay," I said. "Okay, go." Maya slipped through sideways, backpack scraping tile. I followed, forcing the gate wider with my shoulder. The metal groaned in protest. For a terrifying second, it caught on my tote strap, pinning me half in, half out. The man lunged. Not fast enough to grab me, but fast enough to make the choice for me. I ripped the strap free, felt fabric tear, and tumbled into the corridor. The gate snapped back, the chain swinging violently, then settling into a narrower opening than before. The man slammed a hand against the bars, not in rage, in frustration. He looked through the gap at us, chest heaving. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "You made it worse." Maya backed away, pulling me with her. The corridor amplified every sound, our breath, our shoes on tile, the distant hum of emergency systems struggling somewhere deeper in the station. Behind us, the man tested the gate. Once, twice. The metal rang each time. "He's going to get through," Maya said. "I know," I said. We moved uphill, the corridor curving gently to the left. Emergency lights here were fewer, spaced farther apart, leaving pockets of shadow between them. The walls were close enough that my shoulders almost brushed both sides. I felt suddenly very tall, very clumsy. Halfway up, the corridor intersected with a service alcove on the right, an inset with a metal door, and a faded sign that read authorized personnel only. The door was ajar. A shape moved inside. Maya gasped and grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. I jerked to a stop, heart in my throat. The shape resolved into a reflection, our own movement caught in a sheet of scratched stainless steel leaning against the wall. Someone had propped it there for maintenance, turning the alcove into a funhouse mirror. Our faces warped, eyes stretched, mouths too wide. "Oh my God," Maya whispered, embarrassed and shaky. I know," I said. My voice wasn't steady enough to reassure either of us. From behind us came a new sound, metal screeching, sharper and more sustained. The gate. He'd found leverage. We ran. My lungs burned almost immediately. The incline was steeper than it looked, and panic makes terrible fuel. My foot caught on a loose tile. I stumbled, skinned my palm, catching myself. Pain flared bright and hot, grounding me even as it slowed me down. "Don't stop," Maya said, breathless, tugging me upright. "We're almost there." The exit door loomed ahead, a heavy steel slab with a push bar, its emergency light glowing red above it like a watchful eye. I slammed into it shoulder first. It didn't budge. "Locked," I said, disbelief cutting through the adrenaline. "It's locked." I shoved too, then rattled the handle uselessly. "It's an emergency exit. Only from the outside during service hours," I said automatically. My mind supplied policy where I needed a miracle. Behind us, the screeching stopped. Then came the sound of the gate giving way, one final metallic shriek, followed by a dull clang. Footsteps on tile. Running now. "There," Maya said, pointing frantically back down the corridor. A red box mounted on the wall near the exit, smaller than the one on the platform. Emergency release, alarm WILL sound. I hesitated for half a second, long enough to imagine consequences, fines, paperwork, the wrong kind of attention. Maya didn't. She smashed the plastic cover with her elbow. The alarm screamed to life, shrill and piercing, filling the corridor with sound that hurt my ears and made thinking impossible. She yanked the lever. The door unlocked with a heavy, satisfying clunk. We burst through into night air and stumbled onto the sidewalk, empty, damp, lit by a single flickering street lamp. The door slammed shut behind us automatically. For a moment, I thought we were safe. Then I saw the fresh scrape marks on the inside of the door's push bar. Someone had tested it recently, from our side. And as the alarm continued to wail, I realized the door didn't have a handle on the outside. We were committed now. Whatever came next would come from the street. The alarm kept screaming. It wasn't a heroic sound. It was thin and hysterical, bouncing off brick and glass and coming back wrong, as if the street itself was mocking us for thinking noise equaled safety. Maya staggered away from the door, hands clamped over her ears. I turned in a slow circle, trying to orient myself. The street was a short block, maybe 60 meters, dead-ending at a chain-link fence on one side and opening onto a wider avenue on the other. No cars, no pedestrians, just shuttered storefronts and a bus stop with a cracked plexiglass panel rattling faintly in the breeze. The emergency door behind us shuddered once. Then again, heavy impact, someone throwing their weight into it from inside. "He's coming through," Maya said, not panicked, just stating whether. "Door steel," I said, though my voice didn't sound convinced. I remembered the scrape marks, remembered that someone had tested this from our side before. "It'll hold for a bit." Another slam. Harder. The alarm warbled, strained. We had seconds, maybe a minute. "Down the block," I said, "toward the avenue." We ran, or tried to. My legs felt rubbery, coordination shot. My skinned palm burned every time my fingers flexed. The tote banged uselessly against my hip. I let it slide off my shoulder and drop. Papers spilled, white against wet asphalt. Behind us, metal shrieked. Not the door breaking, something else. The sound of a latch failing. Maya swore under her breath. He got it open. I risked a glance back. The emergency door was ajar now, held by one bent hinge. The alarm still blared, but unevenly, as if the speaker had taken a hit. A dark shape squeezed through, shoulder first, then the rest of him. The man straightened on the sidewalk, eyes already locked on us. He moved faster outside, longer strides, no hesitation. "Hey," he shouted. "Stop." We didn't. The avenue was closer than it looked, but not close enough. My lungs were on fire, breaths tearing in and out. I could hear Maya's breathing too, ragged and sharp. I focused on her backpack, the rhythmic bounce of it, like a metronome keeping us upright. A car engine turned over somewhere to our left. Hope flared, then died, as headlights swept briefly across a perpendicular street and disappeared. The man was gaining. "Split," Maya gasped. "No," I said immediately. The word came from someplace deeper than logic. "Stay together." Ahead, the bus stop loomed. The cracked plexiglass panel reflected the streetlight in broken lines. An idea sparked bad, but all I had. "Bus stop," I said. "When I say," she didn't ask. We veered at the last second. I grabbed the loose panel and yanked. It flexed, then popped free with a sharp crack, sending a spiderweb of fractures racing across it. I dragged it out of its frame and staggered backward, holding it between me and the oncoming man like a shield. He slowed, surprised. The panel was lighter than it looked, edges jagged where it had broken free. My injured hand screamed as I adjusted my grip, slick with sweat and blood. "Put it down," he said, breathless now too. Up close, I could see the strain around his eyes, the twitch at the corner of his mouth. This wasn't a monster. This was a man running on something sharp and ugly inside him. "You're making this worse." "You broke the gate," Maya said. Her voice shook, but she held her ground beside me, hands clenched into fists. "You followed us." "I didn't touch you," he snapped. "I just wanted," he lunged. The plexiglass took the impact with a dull, hollow thud. It bowed inward, cracking further, but held long enough for me to shove back with everything I had. Pain lanced up my arm. The panel slipped, one edge scraped my forearm, slicing skin. Maya screamed and did something I didn't expect. She stepped in and kicked. Not high, not flashy. A brutal, practical kick to his knee, angled just right. There was a wet pop I felt more than heard. The man went down hard, howling, hands scrabbling at the pavement. The sound tore at my nerves, raw, human, awful. We didn't stop to celebrate. "Run," I said, and this time we did. We hit the avenue in a burst of light and sound. Traffic here, sparse but real. A taxi idled at the corner. Driver slouched over his phone. I waved both arms like an idiot, shouting words that tangled in my throat. The driver looked up, startled. His eyes flicked past us, down the side street. Behind us, the man dragged himself upright, one leg refusing to straighten. He took 2 limping steps and then stopped, face twisted with pain and fury and something like regret. The taxi's door flew open. "What the hell?" the driver shouted. "Call the police," Maya yelled. He attacked us. Sirens bloomed in the distance, almost immediately, closer than I expected. The alarm from the subway exit was carrying farther than I thought. The man backed away, hands up now, retreating toward the shadowed side street. He disappeared between 2 parked delivery vans, just as red and blue lights washed over the avenue. I slumped against the bus stop pole, legs finally giving out. My hand throbbed in time with my heartbeat. Blood dripped onto the concrete, bright and undeniable. Maya slid down beside me, shaking. She laughed once, a short, broken sound, then covered her mouth with both hands. Police arrived fast after that. Questions. Radios crackling. An EMT wrapping my hand, clucking softly at the mess I'd made of it. Someone found my tote and returned it, papers smeared and useless. They caught the man 3 blocks away. The officer told us later, voice careful, that he'd been carrying a screwdriver tucked into his jacket pocket. No warrants, no clear story, just a lot of anger and a bad knee that would need surgery. When it was over, when statements were taken, and we were finally allowed to sit in the back of the taxi, doors closed, engine humming, I realized my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Maya noticed too. She reached over and squeezed my uninjured hand. Her grip was solid, grounding. "You did good," she said quietly. I stared out the window as the city slid back into place, ordinary and indifferent. I didn't want to stop, I admitted. "Back there, with the chain." "I almost did," she nodded. "I know." The taxi pulled away. Behind us, somewhere underground, an alarm still wailed, echoing through tunnels that would remember us longer than we wanted. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and burned coffee. It was almost 3 in the morning, that hour where everything feels provisional, like the day hasn't decided whether whether to arrive yet. A nurse taped a clean bandage around my palm and told me to keep it dry for 48 hours. Like this was a normal thing you could schedule around. I nodded and signed where she pointed, my signature a shaky mess. Maya sat across from me in the plastic chair, knees pulled up, jacket still on. She hadn't taken it off since the street. Her hands were wrapped around a paper cup she hadn't touched. The coffee inside had gone untouched long enough to grow a skin. "You should drink it," I said. She looked at the cup like it belonged to someone else. In a minute, a police officer came by with a clipboard and an apologetic face. We gave our statements again, this time slower, details lining up the way they do when your brain has had time to replay them too many times. He asked if we wanted to press charges. Maya looked at me before answering, and I hated that she felt the need to check in. "Yes," she said finally, "if it matters." "It does," the officer said, and I couldn't tell if he meant legally or morally. They let us go just before dawn. The city outside the ER had that washed-out look, streets damp and quiet, delivery trucks idling, the world resetting. The taxi ride back was mostly silent. Maya leaned her head against the window, eyes open, tracking reflections, as if they might rearrange themselves into something that made sense. At my stop, she hesitated. "You okay getting the rest of the way?" "Yeah," I said. The word felt flimsy but serviceable. "You," she smiled, small and tired. "I think so." We exchanged numbers, the act oddly formal, like we were coworkers finishing a late shift. Then she was gone, swallowed by the city she'd come to visit, and I was alone again. Sleep didn't come easily. When it did, it came in fragments. The gate shadowed like bars, the alarm's pitch drilling into my skull, the man's face as his knee buckled, not monstrous, just human and furious. I woke more than once convinced I'd heard footsteps in the hall, only to find the building settling, pipes knocking like they always had. In the morning, my boss texted to ask if I could still make the meeting. I stared at the screen longer than necessary before typing back that I'd need the day. He replied with a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. The normality of it was jarring. 2 days later, I went back to the station. I told myself it was practical, that I needed to pick up my abandoned tote if it had been turned in, check the service status, reassert ownership over a route I'd used 100 times without incident. Really, I wanted to see if it looked the same in daylight. It did, mostly. The screens were working again, clock ticking along like it had never stalled. A crew in orange vests stood near the stairs, one of them laughing as he wrestled with a coil of cable. The maintenance gate at the far end was fully open now, chain gone. A new sign had been zip-tied to it. Exit temporarily closed, use other stairs. Someone had scrawled a date in Sharpie beneath it, already smudging. I stood near the column with the call box, the one that hadn't answered. A different one now, bright and new, the button clean of fingerprints. I didn't press it. A train roared in, wind pushing my jacket against my legs. People poured out, sleepy, distracted, alive in the way crowds are. No one looked at me twice. On the platform wall, the stainless steel panel from the service alcove was gone. In its place was bare tile, scrubbed clean, as if the station had decided not to remember itself. I rode home without incident. Still, I stood behind the yellow line even when others crept forward. Still, I watched reflections in the window more than I used to, checking that the shapes behind me matched the movements I expected. Maya texted once, a week later. Restaurants back to killing me. You heal okay? Yeah, I wrote, scars ugly. Aren't they all? She replied, and sent a photo of her knee, a crescent bruise fading from purple to yellow. Proof of continuity. The court date came and went. The man took a plea, assault, possession of a tool with intent. The details were relayed to me by a victim advocate with a gentle voice. He said he was having a bad night. He said he just wanted to talk. The screwdriver had been for work. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. The system didn't ask me to decide. Life resumed as it does. I worked late again. I took the subway again. I stood near other people and pretended not to see them while keeping half an eye anyway. The unresolved thing wasn't the man. It wasn't even the station. It was the timing. Every now and then, late at night, I'd check my phone and notice the clock had stalled just for a second before correcting itself. Or an app would hang on loading longer than it should. Small failures, explainable ones. I learned to move anyway. Still, when a space goes quiet behind me, I listen. And I don't stop. The shadows fade for now, but the stories never end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and join our community of horror lovers. If you're hungry for more, check out the next video. Just remember, the scariest part is often the one you don't see coming.